Print media has historically informed the public debate and determined how news was reported, but television is now the primary news source for the vast majority of Americans. More than 90% of Americans use television as their primary source, and the internet is now the second most widely used. That displaces newspapers in that position. Let's quickly take a look at the six major functions of the media. First is entertainment. The bulk of radio and TV hours are by far devoted to entertaining the audience, though not directly linked to politics. Recent trends involve politically oriented broadcasts. We see that on Comedy Central with The Daily Show and The Colbert Report. Second function, reporting the news. Media generate news, provides the words, pictures, and opinions about events, people, and ideas. Third function, identifying public problems. They set the agenda. We talked about agenda setting earlier. They identify the key issues and reveal what the government's doing and what it ought to be doing. Fourth, making profits. Media exists to make profits. Their profits come from advertising revenues. They socialize new generations by presenting history, culture, diversity, and moral values of America. Media teach young people and immigrants what it means to be Americans. And the media also provides political forums that they allow politicians and constituents to take part in public forums. Leaders can showcase their abilities and platforms and generally talk about the issues that are important to that area. As we mentioned, though the internet has become more popular with young people, television is still the most influential medium among the general public, and its news programming is also a big business. We've seen a huge increase in news-type programming. In 1963, the major networks devoted 11 minutes a day to national news. By 2011, it was 3 hours a day. And cable news channels and internet sites, they dramatically increased that number as well, almost around the clock on cable news and websites. And by nature, television focuses on the visual, but is constrained by time limits. So news stories are often brief and superficial, based on sound bites, aiming at immediate impact on the viewer. The drama of long campaigns and daily congressional activities is hard to portray without the mechanics of a storyline or a plot. So these are constraints that may actually influence certain political events by exaggerating their importance. Now, because TV is so influential, politicians have to devise ways to use it for their benefits. There are three types of TV coverage are generally employed in campaigns for presidency and other offices. First is advertising. Broadcast TV has increasingly profited from its fees for campaign commercials. You'll see negative ads. You'll see all sorts of advertising as part of the political campaign. The campaign spots tend to be expensive. So one of the goals of the campaign is to get what's called earned media, to get the news media to come out and provide free coverage of events, any number of initiative announcements, those kinds of things, trying to get people, the media to come out for free and cover their events. And campaign debates. Since the 1960 Kennedy-Nixon election season, televised debates have influenced presidential campaigns. Incumbents often reluctant to appear, and challengers have much to gain by being represented as equals and as viable office holders who look presidential. As you saw at the Obama-Romney debates, that Romney was in a position looking presidential, and you'll see that incumbents, at least for president, now debate regularly. You'll see at the congressional level and state assembly and state senate and those types of things, incumbents are more reluctant to debate their opponents. We mentioned advertising earlier. Candidates spent in 2008 about $3 billion in advertising. As we also mentioned, those ads are becoming more negative in nature. We talked about going for the knockout debates. As we mentioned, challengers have more to gain. Spend a few minutes talking about the internet. It's a way to advertise and raise money for a campaign and generate coverage. You'll find most candidates have internet campaign strategies, but what people find, it's difficult to manage coverage on blogs and internet websites. Supporters may engage in activities that the candidate may not support, that the supporters may go a little further than the candidates themselves are comfortable with in supporting their candidate. Spend a few minutes talking about government regulation in the media. That the U.S. has a very free press compared to the rest of the world, of course. Federal Communications Commission regulates communications by radio, television, wire, and cable. And in doing so, it's created an environment in which the three major TV networks dominated broadcasting. But when Congress passed the Telecommunications Act in 1996, it not only freed telephone companies to enter other media markets, but also cleared the way for large corporations to control media ownership. You find now many media outlets are now owned by a corporate conglomerate. That's a single entity that may also own newspapers, film companies, TV networks, production studios, and delivery systems. So you find many more media outlets now owned by corporations after the Telecommunications Act. No, the First Amendment appears to apply to all media. The Supreme Court has really been slow to extend free speech and free press guarantees to new media as they've arrived on the scene. Court took decades to grant free speech protection to motion pictures and has never extended full protection to radio and television. And, for example, it allows the FCC to assess fines for indecency and profanity. Finally, we'll talk about bias in the media. Americans have long argued that the mainstream media has an ongoing bias, and it's an inclination or preference that interferes with their impartial judgment. Many observers see a liberal bias stemming from free-thinking reporters, while others perceive a conservative bias. It's particularly evident in economic and financial coverage. Some say the mainstream media are biased in favor of drama and conflict, while others claim they're biased against losers, like candidates who are falling behind in races. So there are a number of ways to look at bias. It's not just you're liberal or conservative. You also are media biased about drama. Are they biased against candidates that they don't think can win? And finally, you take a look at, is there a scientific basis for the bias claims? Is there any kind of test that's been taken to see if there is bias? And one example, a communications professor examined how ABC, CBS, NBC, and Fox News reported public opinion polls that assessed the job performance of two presidents. Found that ABC, CBS, and NBC gave Bill Clinton more favorable coverage, and Fox gave George W. Bush more favorable coverage. So that's there's a sense that perhaps some media outlets prefer the liberals, some prefer conservatives. So that will be the end of this chapter's lecture. Please look under course documents in your folder to see additional assignments for this week. Thank you.